The Texas Chain Saw Massacre, 1974. 20 weird facts. You didn't know. Leatherface, the meat hook, that final twisted dance at sunrise. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre wasn't just a horror film, it was a cultural grenade, a movie that redefined terror on a budget so small the crew nearly revolted. Behind those iconic scenes, the dinner table, the sliding metal door, the roaring chainsaw, nothing came easy. The set reached 115 degrees, actors were covered in real blood, and the director nearly killed his cast to get the perfect shot. These are 20 weird facts about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and buried in the madness, a family dinner scene that took 27 straight hours to film, leaving the actors delirious, injured, and forever changed. The Saw is family. This film doesn't slow down for comfort. Number 1. Before Leatherface terrorized teenagers, he was inspired by a real-life monster. Director Tobe Hooper claimed the idea came from Wisconsin serial killer Ed Gein, who made furniture from human remains. But the true spark ignited during a Christmas shopping trip in 1972. Stuck in a crowded Montgomery Ward department store, Hooper found himself staring at chainsaws. For a brief moment, he imagined firing one up to clear a path through the holiday shoppers. That fleeting thought, how quickly he could escape the crowd with a chainsaw, became the seed for one of cinema's most influential horror films. Hooper later said, "I went home, sat down, all the channels were full of reports about murders, the war, etc. And the idea just came." Number 2. The film's most disturbing claim, based on true events, was almost entirely fabrication. The marketing suggested audiences were watching a recreation of real murders, but this was calculated deception. While Ed Gein provided loose inspiration, the story of Leatherface and his cannibalistic family was pure invention. Hooper later admitted, "I knew we could promote it as a true story because no one would know any different." This wasn't just clever marketing, it was psychological warfare on the audience. In 1974, before the internet made fact-checking instant, viewers left theaters believing they'd witnessed something that actually happened. Number 3, the film's iconic villain almost had a completely different look. Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface, initially envisioned wearing a rabbit fur mask. Thankfully, production designer Robert Burns had a better idea: a mask made of human skin. The final film featured 3 distinct masks, each representing a different aspect of Leatherface's personality: the killing mask, the old lady mask for cooking, and the pretty woman mask for dinner. Hansen spent hours studying mentally disabled people to develop Leatherface's movements. The result was a villain who didn't just kill, he had depth, confusion, and a twisted sense of purpose. Number 4. The sweltering Texas heat turned filming into a test of endurance. Shot in midsummer, temperatures on set regularly reached 115 degrees. The farmhouse had no air conditioning, and the rotting animal carcasses created a stench so unbearable that crew members vomited daily. The infamous dinner scene took 27 straight hours to film in that heat. Marilyn Burns recalled, "It was the most miserable experience of my life." The smell became so intolerable that many crew members refused to return. Those who stayed worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. The suffering wasn't just behind the scenes. It's visible in every frame, in the sweat-drenched clothes and genuine exhaustion on the actors' faces. Number 5. That's real blood on Marilyn Burns. During the dinner scene, when Leatherface cuts her finger to feed to Grandpa, the fake blood looked unconvincing. A production assistant was sent to a nearby slaughterhouse to collect fresh animal blood. Burns later said, "It was sticky and hot under the lights. I was pretty miserable." But the real blood wasn't the worst part. Throughout filming, Burns was actually cut, bruised, and injured. The scene where she escapes through a window? Those are real cuts from actual glass. The terror on her face during the entire third act isn't only acting, it's the face of someone being genuinely tormented for the sake of art. Number 6. Gunnar Hansen nearly killed himself with his own chainsaw. Despite the film's title, the chainsaw kills exactly 0 people on screen. But it nearly claimed a victim behind the scenes. During the cemetery chase sequence, Hansen couldn't see properly through his mask. He tripped while running with a real, functioning chainsaw. The chain was engaged, and the blade came within inches of his leg. After this near disaster, the production removed the chain for most scenes, adding the chain noise in post-production. The roar you hear is authentic, but the deadly chain itself was often missing. Number 7. The film's most terrifying location was found by pure chance. Production designer Robert Burns spotted an old farmhouse that seemed perfect for the Sawyer family home. The owners rented it for $300 a month. After production wrapped, the house was dismantled, moved to Kingsland, Texas, and converted into a restaurant called the Junction House. Today it's called Hooper's, but horror fans can still literally eat dinner in the same rooms where the fictional Sawyer family consumed their victims. Number 8. The actor who played Grandpa was only 29 years old. John Dugan spent hours each day being transformed into the withered patriarch. The makeup process was so extensive that Dugan agreed to do it only once. All his scenes had to be shot in a single session. During the infamous hammer scene, where Grandpa repeatedly fails to hit Sally, Dugan wore thick contact lenses that nearly blinded him. Each swing was a blind guess at where Burns' head might be. Burns later recalled genuinely fearing for her safety during these takes. Pretty wild so far, right? If you're enjoying this descent into madness, go ahead and like or subscribe, because in a minute, we hit on real animal carcasses, a director's tyranny, and a scene so disturbing that crew members walked off set. Trust me, it only gets more twisted from here. Number 9. Those animal bones weren't props. They were real. Production designer Robert Burns visited local slaughterhouses to collect genuine animal remains. The bones, feathers, and dried skin throughout the Sawyer house came from actual dead animals. Under the Texas heat, these remains created an unholy stench. Actor Edwin Neal said, "Filming that movie was like fighting in Vietnam, except in Vietnam, they gave you a gun, and in Texas Chain Saw, they just gave you a crazy director." The putrid smell became so embedded in the actors' clothes that many had to throw them away after filming. Number 10. The film's most famous scene, the meat hook, was achieved through movie magic and genuine suffering. When Leatherface hangs Pam, Terry McMinn, on a meat hook, the production used a hidden harness and platform. But the harness dug so deeply into McMinn's armpits that she was left with painful bruises for weeks. The scene took hours to film, with McMinn suspended in excruciating discomfort. The close-up of the hook entering her back used a fake torso, but everything else, her screams, her tears, her struggling, was genuine reaction to actual pain. The scene lasts less than a minute on screen, but took nearly a full day to capture. Number 11. The film's tiny budget led to dangerous shortcuts. Made for approximately $140,000, the production couldn't afford basic safety measures. The chainsaw was real, the knives were real, the hammer was real. During the scene where Leatherface falls, Hansen actually cut his leg. When Kirk, played by William Vail, is hit with a sledgehammer, the prop hammer was replaced with a real one at the last second. Vail's collapse isn't acting but includes genuine pain, and the blood-soaked shirt Burns wore was never washed during the entire shoot. It simply dried between takes, becoming stiffer and more rancid each day. Number 12. The film's violence was so convincing that many think of the movie as a gore fest. But there's surprisingly little blood shown on screen. Hooper was aiming for a PG rating and deliberately kept explicit gore to a minimum. Most violence happens just off-screen or is implied. There are no lingering shots of wounds, no spurting arteries, no explicit dismemberment visible. The film's power comes from suggestion and sound design. When Leatherface slams the metal door after dragging Kirk inside, that sudden clang does more to convey horror than gallons of fake blood ever could. The film was still rated R and also banned in several countries. Number 13. The dinner scene drove the cast to the breaking point. Filmed over 27 consecutive hours in 115-degree heat, the scene pushed everyone to their limits. Burns was actually cut, hit, and tormented. Her screams aren't acting. They're genuine cries of distress. At one point, her finger was actually cut for the scene where Grandpa sucks her blood. After hours of filming, the actors began to hallucinate from exhaustion. Edwin Neal later said, "I honestly thought I was losing my mind." Gunnar Hansen was so delirious that he cut Burns with a real knife by accident. Number 14. The film's iconic sound design was created using bizarre, makeshift methods. The production couldn't afford a professional sound studio, so they got creative. The eerie soundtrack was created using instruments like the optigan and manipulated animal sounds. For Leatherface's chainsaw, they recorded an actual Poulan chainsaw, then enhanced it by scraping metal against other surfaces. The bone-chilling sound when Leatherface first appears in his killing mask, that's actually the bleeding of a rabbit just before slaughter, slowed down and distorted. Number 15. The film's final scene, Leatherface's deranged chainsaw dance at sunrise, was a desperate last-minute addition. After nearly 27 hours of continuous shooting, Hooper realized he needed one final shot. Despite exhaustion, he convinced Hansen to don the Leatherface costume one last time. The now iconic dance of frustration was improvised on the spot, with Hansen so delirious that he nearly cut himself multiple times. The beautiful sunrise contrasting with Leatherface's manic flailing was pure serendipity. They only had one chance to capture it as the sun crested the horizon. Number 16. The film's commercial success came at a devastating personal cost. Despite eventually grossing over $30 million, most of the cast and crew saw almost none of that money. Due to shady distribution deals, many were paid just a few $100s. Hooper was promised 35% of the profits, but ended up in lengthy legal battles. Burns, despite enduring genuine torture, received approximately $8,000 and never saw another penny despite decades of merchandising and re-releases. Number 17. The film's release was nearly blocked by serious legal troubles. Just before the premiere, investors discovered the distribution company, Bryanston Pictures, had ties to the mafia and was being used to launder money from pornographic films. The company's assets were frozen during a federal investigation. Even after release, the legal problems continued. The film was banned in the UK, Australia, Brazil, and several other countries. In Britain, the ban lasted 25 years. It wasn't legally available until 1999. Number 18. Despite its reputation, the film received serious critical acclaim. While many dismissed it as exploitation, others recognized its artistry. Rex Reed called it the most terrifying motion picture I have ever seen. The Museum of Modern Art added it to its permanent collection in 1981. French film critics were particularly enthusiastic, praising its political subtext as a commentary on post-Vietnam America. Today, it's studied in film schools alongside works by Hitchcock and Kubrick. The Library of Congress selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry in 2012. Number 19. The film's title contains a deliberate misspelling that almost no one notices. It's The Texas Chain Saw Massacre, with chainsaw as 2 words instead of 1, not the more common chainsaw. This wasn't a mistake, but a conscious choice by Hooper. He believed the 2-word version looked more imposing on a poster and created a subtle discomfort in readers. The movie's opening crawl, narrated by John Larroquette in his first film role, was deliberately designed to mimic documentary style, enhancing the based-on-true-events deception. Number 20. The film's most disturbing legacy might be what it did to its creators. After filming wrapped, several cast and crew members reported severe psychological effects. Burns experienced nightmares for years. Hansen struggled with being typecast and the public's fear of him. Hooper never again achieved the same level of creative success. Edwin Neal later said that combat in Vietnam was less stressful than making the film. The production was so traumatic that many participants refused to work together again. The film that changed horror cinema forever also changed, and in some cases damaged, the people who made it. Bonus fact: the film's iconic chainsaw was actually a Poulan 306A, chosen not for its menacing appearance, but because it was the lightest model available. Hansen had to hold the running chainsaw for hours during filming. The lighter weight made those extended scenes physically possible, though he still suffered exhaustion and muscle strain. The saw used in filming still exists. It was sold at auction in 2017 for over $10,000. Despite its central role in cinema history, the Poulan Company never capitalized on the connection. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre wasn't just a horror film, it was a revolution disguised as exploitation. It broke rules, broke taboos, and occasionally broke the people who made it. Shot for pennies in the scorching Texas heat, it outperformed studio productions costing hundreds of times more. It proved that suggestion could be more terrifying than explicit gore, that context could be more unsettling than content. 5 decades later, its power remains undiminished, a testament to filmmaking that dared to cross lines others wouldn't even approach. If this one still makes your skin crawl, drop a comment. Tell us what legendary film we should dive into next. Because in a world where horror has become increasingly graphic, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre reminds us that true terror isn't about what you show. It's about what you make the audience feel in their bones.